Hello, good day. Welcome to Music Motors and welcome to the 2019 DS3 Crossback. Now, DS, this is a new venture in the PSA group. Previously, we knew them as a Citroen DS. They decided that as it's the luxury side of their segment, a part of their group, it needed its own label, it needed its own brand effectively, and thus we have DS, an entirely separate brand to Citroen. This is the DS3 Crossback. Now, we have had other like DS3s in the past, and obviously we got the DS7, which is their luxury SUV. DS3 Crossback, this is powered by a 1.2 litre 3-cylinder petrol engine which produces 155 horsepower, 240 newton meters of torque, gets to 62 in about 8.2 seconds, tops out 129 miles an hour. Now, the biggest thing with this is that DS is all about style and kind of ease, and to be fair, originally when it turned up I thought this wasn't going to be so much of an easy moving car because it had a 1.23 cylinder, but as you'll find out shortly, I was wrong. This is all about why the DS3 Crossback is pretty incredible, and it goes up against many German rivals and walks all over them, not just on price. 29 base, 30 with this one, with an option of the colour effectively. So welcome to Music Motors. If you spot a random Eat Natural bar, it is there on purpose, because if you spot it, you can win a month's supply. Don't just think it's crappy ad placement. So from the outside, the DS3 Crossback is a very handsome looking thing. It's got nice bulges where they need to go. It's a very French, very Parisian design. In fact, when you look at this, I can almost hear Daft Punk in my head while I'm listening to it, hearing that kind of Paris electro beat going on. But the biggest thing to note is that this has the same design language as we've seen through the years. It's been updated though. Obviously the DS3 sold very, very well for DS when it was Citroen. Now, being an entirely new brand, a sole entity if you would like to put it that way, they've updated the design and they've taken things like you would have seen in the DS7. Now, the DS7 was an incredible looking SUV, especially when you consider how much cheaper it was than a lot of the competition, and equally they've then taken this design language over. The front end is nice and rounded, but equally still quite sleek. The side profile is undeniably DS. If you put a DS3 Crossback next to a DS7, well, you kind of see the similarities. In the back end, most definitely so. And there's a lot of triangles and harsher shapes going on because that's DS's design language. This one's got 17-inch diamond cut alloy wheels, which really do suit if you go for the performance variant, or the performance aesthetical pack as it was. You do then get 18-inch diamond cut alloy wheels, but what I would say is that these 17s look the part and equally don't give you a lot of risk of damaging them. They're very good looking. The outside, Nero Black, I think I've pronounced that right, is a lovely finishing touch. This looks really, really good in sleek, dark colours, and generally from the outside is a very sleek looking car. And something which you might not have noticed just yet, but I will put a clip in now, the door handles pop in and out. I can't guarantee the life that these are going to live, but then again, we see a lot of cars that are going with this type of design. The motors are quite strong, they are quite idiot proof, so fingers crossed they're not going to fail, but if they do fail, there are still ways to get into the car using a manual key. From what I can tell of owners who have had these, they don't seem to be breaking that often though. But if you own one of these and it does break, tell me in the comment section. I would be very intrigued to know just how long lasting it is. Considering the fact that this has been designed for city life, I thought I'd put it through a city test, all back road, no motorways, just seeing what it's like. So is it comfortable? What's the visibility? You know, what's the fuel economy going to turn out like? So that's what I'm going to find out in this quick little segment. Let's go. Basing it off the traffic I've had, the fuel economy turnaround was 33 miles per gallon. It was 32.7. Comfort wise, very comfortable, very easy to drive. A couple of blind spot issues, mainly being there's this bigger pillar up here, which is kind of there, that gets in the way quite a lot when it comes to city driving, and these pillars are quite big, but these will definitely adjust to that. You will adjust to, but it would be better if you had something like a blind spot monitor. I mean, comfort wise, very, very good. Get up and go wise, great. Economy, pretty decent, especially considering the engine size and the vehicle size. Just a couple of blind spot issues for around town driving, but nothing you wouldn't get used to. Moving inside is where the DS3 Crossback really, it sticks its middle finger up to the German rivals, because for the cost, the interior luxury is unparalleled. Whilst it isn't bundled with leather, it's bundled with leather look, it's bundled with brilliant design aesthetics, and genuinely it's a lovely place to be. Even without many options on the inside, it's very luxurious. These seats are fantastically comfortable. The standard sound system is pretty good. If you go for the performance pack, you do then get the focal sound system, which obviously is a very nice touch. Visibility from the driver's seat, reasonable, not like extensive. So up front you can see everything as you need to, and nicely there aren't actually big bulges on the bonnet. However, what you will find is the A-pillar ends up having a bit of a blind spot for you. No worse than most cars from 3 or 4 years ago, but it's slightly bigger than some of the competition's given you, but at the same time it's all safety. The only place that I found that there was a real issue with the blind spot was the rear passenger seats. Mainly that if you're looking back, maybe you're coming out of a trickier junction, where the rear seats are, the rear door is very, very high. It sits extremely high. Whilst it's cool and it's different, well, it gives you a bit of a blind spot in tighter corners. That's all I can say. The rest of it though, interior is finished lovely. The infotainment's pretty easy to use, though I'm not the biggest fan of these kind of haptic touch buttons. They're a little bit clumsy, as in the user can be clumsy. The rear seat space is reasonable. The boot space is very reasonable, fits everything, passes my gigging test, does as well as I would expect a normal hatch to do, effectively. And realistically, that's the platform this is based off of. The interior though is lovely and quiet and comfortable. I guess the only thing that's missing for me is a big sunroof, heated seats, and a big sound system. Not to say that this sound system isn't good though, because it is quite good. Lots of different touches, handles not where you expect them to be, lots of triangles going everywhere. It's a very Parisian design, is the only way I can describe it. It's lovely. My gigging test is something which shows you just how dailyable a vehicle is from a musician's point of view, how much equipment it can take, how comfortable it is, what the fuel economy is like, the general daily vibe. And it's not around town, it's motorways, it's B roads, it's kind of a mix of stuff. This is my gig test. Let's go. Okay, arrived, and it is now gig time. Currently comfortable, very good fuel economy, over 40 to the gallon, and perfect for this day of gigging. Now for the gig itself, and then when I get back I will give you the resolution to everything that has gone on tonight, from my impressions to everything basically. Okay, gig done, and now onwards to the final part of the journey, nighttime driving, and that gives me the final bit of information I need to tell you everything very shortly. So the result at the end of the day, 45 miles per gallon, which combined over the entire journey was pretty impressive, especially when you consider it's 1.2. From a comfort point of view, really comfortable. Visibility is pretty good. On the motorway it's quite quiet and it takes everything as I could ask it to, within reason. Everything goes in the boot except the base has gone back seat. The biggest thing is that I didn't notice this being a 1.2 3-cylinder at all on the motorway, and that really surprised me. So it's passed the gigging test, relative flying colours, let's be honest. Performance wise, it really surprised me, because I was expecting a 1.2 3-cylinder to be absolutely gutless. What it ended up being was kind of the opposite. 155 horsepower, 240 newton meters of torque, 8.2 to 60, 129 top end. Out of a 1.2 3-cylinder, it really is quite substantial, and the biggest thing to note is that around town it has real get up and go. 8-speed box is very quick to respond as you need it, though it can be very jerky in traffic. It kind of engages and disengages quite violently when it's not sure where your brake is, so being precise can be a little bit more difficult. Economy wise, really good around town, really good on the motorway, mainly because it's got quite a bit of torque. So it means that as you're going along, you can just put your foot down and go. It doesn't feel gutless. It doesn't feel like it struggles on the motorway around town. The steering feel is lovely. The brake feels quite good. I mean, as good as it can be for something which isn't a performance car. And the throttle response is pretty instantaneous as long as you're in sport mode. Really, this doesn't feel like a economy hatch crossover. It actually gave you really lovely driving characteristics and just a lovely, comfortable ride when it needed to be. It really was so impressive. So the DS3 does cost base price about £29,000. If you put options on it, obviously it will go up. This one's about £30,000, and for a £30,000 car, I think it's great value for money for a brand new car. Let's be honest, it comes with so much stuff, so many tech amenities. The only thing that really I think it should have as standard are better headlights. These aren't terrible, the halogen units, but they could do with being considerably better if you do a lot of night driving. Otherwise, what you're going to do is just put a technology pack on, and then you will get the LED headlights or whatever variant they are for the upgrade. Outside, this looks amazing and different, and it's lovely. It's just a lovely thing to look at. It's different to the competitors. It's got cool, quirky little aesthetical cues. It's just such a lovely place to look at, then getting into where you're then really surprised by the quality and the comfort and the technology. It does everything that you could want. It can take your family. You've got ISOFIX, the boot's big enough, and you can have fun in this. You can drive it as a normal car, and then you can have fun in the back roads. It doesn't roll hard. It's just a genuinely great driving car, which is amazing value for money, which I really wasn't expecting to say, because I've driven a lot of PSA group cars recently which have been okay. Like, they're okay value for money. But this is superb value for money, and it has absolutely astounded me just how brilliant it is.